What's up, guys? We're getting the day started with getting our new CNC plasma table put together that we just got in the mail today. We are really excited to have one of these. Wyatt's always making custom tabs and
a lot of little brackets, accessories, custom parts for race cars, and man, it takes up a whole day to build these stupid little tabs. So this is definitely going to up our production as far as time goes, and also quality, because you know, matching two pieces of metal together ain't easy.
The table we got here is from Langmuir Systems, and they specialize in smaller, more portable CNC plasma tables for like the home hobbyist or small business, which is perfect for what we do. They're super affordable, and they were willing to work with us on this guy, so we're really excited to get this thing unboxed and get it put together and start trying this thing out. Dang, boys, check it out. We got ourselves a freaking plasma table.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to using this thing, man. It's pretty sick.
These fins right here are what the material actually lays on. For instance, like this piece of aluminum, we'll be able to cut aluminum and steel with this thing. That guy will sit right up there. You fill these trays right here with water. It just collects the sparks and heat coming off the plasma torch, and you can just plot it out, cut whatever you need, any shapes. Basically just a vinyl cutter for metal.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that is gonna be so handy. And we got her all powered up here, and I think we're ready to see this thing move.
Yeah, so I already went through and set all our safeties for travel. So yeah, we got it plugged in and got their software up right here, so you can jog it with the keys on your computer. And
check that out.
Kind of run it through its paces. So you know, and once the torch is on there and everything's set up, like Kyle said, we'll load a program in there, a cut file, and just tell it where the material's at. Click start, and it will cut it out for us.
I mean, are we ready?
So much time.
Are we ready to start cutting once we hook a plasma?
Yep, I want to get it in the
it
corner first, just so we're not moving things twice. But once it's set up over there and we put the plasma torch on it, we can make our first cut and see how it goes.
Hell yeah.
Pretty sick, man.
Got all the software installed right here. So that's just our work area.
Yep.
Inside that rectangle there.
And as you run this through, you can kind of see right where it's at. So, pretty sick setup, man.
Big fancy.
Mm-hmm.
We're leveling up in the world, boys. Gonna make some custom mounting tabs. That's all this table is for.
Right,
just for some tabs. All right, we got the plasma table moved to the corner of the shop here, and we are ready to test this thing out for the first time. We got it filled up with water. Got a test piece on there.
Yep, and with any luck, we don't just ram this torch into something real quick, so.
Yeah, it is nice. This one has the auto leveling on it.
Yep.
So if this isn't perfectly flat, this torch does auto adjust its height to match the plane it is on, so it doesn't accidentally like run into the material or make a wider gap away from it. So that is really nice. We got that option along with it. And we got this puppy being powered by the Hypertherm PowerMax 45 right here that was supplied with the table. We got her all hooked up, got the airlines going to it, and we got a little design on there that we're gonna try.
Yep.
And we're gonna see what she does here.
We'll see, man. I'm gonna click start. I don't know what to expect.
Got her on 25 amps. It's some pretty thin metal right here, so I guess go for it.
Yes, let's do it.
See if this thing lights up.
So nerve-wracking.
What's the worst that could happen?
Well.
Oh, shit, baby. Oh, she's going.
Oh, we done did it now.
Well, you got the Z figured out, but it stopped.
Sick.
Dude, that was kind of bright.
All right, I don't know what happened. Torch height detected the torch moving before sensing cutting voltage.
All right, we had to change a couple settings, but we're trying it again.
Yeah, I have no idea if this fixes it or not, but we're gonna run it. It's probably gonna cut over what we already have, so it's not gonna be a clean cut, but it'll give us time to figure this out. So we'll just go ahead and click
Proof
start.
of concept here. It is bright. Probably why they gave us that face mask. Anyway, not that hot.
Well,
Says cold water splashing on it. Nice.
brother.
Our first cut on the new plasma table. We didn't bother about trying to get the insides of the letters figured out.
No,
Just the outside, but
that's pretty sick.
that is pretty cool,
A
boys.
little bit of dross on there. We can chip off it.
Did you put that hole up there?
Yeah, I wanted to see how close I could get a hole.
Trying to make a Christmas ornament?
Well, yeah, to hang it. First cut, brother.
That's pretty cool, dude.
That's sick.
Well, our first cut went pretty good. Got that guy cleaned up. Came out nice and clean. And right now we're actually going to make something useful out of it.
Yep.
Wyatt has some tabs he needs on the 2J Civic.
Right, I'm doing these seatbelt tabs right now. That'll get welded to the chassis for the seatbelts. And I already did one of them by hand, and it already isn't perfect because doing them by hand never is. And I've already got like 2 hours invested in that. So I was really looking forward to using this because I designed these in about 10 minutes, and it's going to cut out two perfectly identical, ready to go in the car. So tons of time saving there.
Yep.
And a way better end product.
So we'll go ahead and try to cut these out. We don't have too much width to work with here, so this is just what we got for right now.
Yep.
For demonstration purposes,
We've
but
never-
they should work for the
Yeah.
final product.
We've never had to buy big sheet metal because obviously we do this stuff by hand. So we're using what we got for today, but I'm ready, man. You ready?
Yep, we got her cranked up a little bit for this thicker material here. What is that, like 3/8? Eighth inch?
3/8, something like that. All right, I'm gonna hit it. You ready?
Yep, watch your eyes.
Oh shit, here we go, baby.
Dude, that is so sick. Cut it out perfect. Look at that, boys. Perfectly cut out tab. Just got to clean that up. That is going to save so much time.
So this is the one that I did by hand, and you can see, like, it's hard to, when you're measuring these out, get these legs perfect. You know, this one's a little thicker, a little thinner. Then all the cleanup and doing that by hand, where 10 minutes worth of work. This one, perfect, ready to go in the car.
And we can make several of them.
Yeah,
easily.
I could take a sheet of this, cut out 100 of these in the time it took me to do this one.
Yep. And we could definitely order tabs online and wait for them, but we're always
Yeah.
doing custom stuff. We don't know how big of a tube we're working with, how big of this eyelet we need, how far away from the tube it needs to be. So just being able to knock them out ourselves right here.
I don't think you could actually stock enough of these tabs for the kind of projects we do. So, like, just the different variety, like you were saying.
Dude, that is so sick.
That's legit, man.
We'll just be able to make like a generic tab file. So if we just need some like quick, ready to go ones, we can just pop them out.
Yep. And two of them just done up like that.
Dude,
man.
that is sick.
That's so cool. And then I'll have to check the hole too. I was playing around with like different hole sizes, so it's all a learning curve, but that's already way ahead of the game there,
Nice,
dude.
Huge shout out to Langmuir, dude. These things are freaking awesome. We went with Crossfire Pro here. It fits perfect in the corner of our shop. They do have smaller ones than this that are even more compact, and they also have bigger ones. But for the everyday hobbyist or small business, dude, these tables, solid.
Yeah, I think this is going to be proved to be invaluable around here. The amount of time this is going to save is awesome. I've been bugging Kyle to get one of these for like over a year. And he's like, man, I don't know. I think it's going to
I've just been wanting more room in the
Yeah.
shop, but, you know, we made it work, boys. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet.
Well, guys, as you saw, we're going back to a K24 in the MR2. We're getting rid of the K20 setup, and we're going to see if we can push the MR2 even further with a K24. And we got a couple of these suckers to get put together, and I'm going to be putting them together myself. No electric car content today, just you guys and your boy putting together a good old K-Series. So I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to see, because it's what you're going to get. And yeah, I guess let's show you guys what we got here. So we have the K24 block. This is sleeved by Ramey Racing, and we have two of those getting ready to go together. If you look back over here, we have our rods. These are BME 300 series solid aluminum rods. These don't have the pockets on them, so they are nice and beefy and strong. We have our main bearings, our rod bearings, ARP main studs. We have plastic gauge because we already went ahead and plastic gauged the bearings and checked our clearances. For a quick breakdown of what plastic gauge does, I was debating about showing this whole process, but it's kind of tedious and it's really straightforward. So basically all this stuff is inside of it, there's this little green strip of plastic here. You can see that guy right inside of there. You break that off and you set it inside the bearing, in between the bearing and the crankshaft. You tighten everything down and torque it to spec, and then you take it back apart, and then you have this little gauge right here, and depending on how much that plastic squishes out, it tells you how much clearance you have in between there. It's a pretty important step, especially if you've had machine work done. If you've had the block line tone or anything like that, you want to double check and make sure everything's good to go. Typically, a lot of you guys building engines at home with lesser horsepower applications, you probably aren't gonna be doing this step. You can probably just slap them together with all standard size stuff and you'll be fine, which I have done several times. It's been a while since I've actually busted out the plastic gauge, but just wanted to double check that these engines going together are going to be good to go. We also have our pistons right here. These are the Diamond Racing pistons, and we have the rings that we are going to be gapping today as well. And then we have some copper right here. This will come into play once we get the head in, and we have to put that guy around the top of the cylinders to seal it up. So this is the copper O-ring that helps seal the cylinders to the head. But without further ado, what else? We got our thrust washers, and we also have our little oil squirter block off plugs right here. We got the girdle down there and the crankshaft. And I guess let's go ahead and start putting this sucker together, boys. We're just gonna start by flipping this thing over, and we'll start by getting all of the main bearings into place here. Just go like that. Go like that. You can see we did have some lube on these from when we just checked the bearing clearances, because we did have the crank in there and we were spinning it over as we were clamping the rods on. But now she's going back together for the final time. So real quick before we put the crank in, we're going to put our oil squirter delete plugs in. So on these K24s, they come factory with these little oil squirter ports. These guys squirt oil at the skirts and like sidewalls of the piston, but we aren't going to be running those suckers, so we're going to go ahead and block those guys off. Got these nice little titanium block off plugs. This will help increase our oil pressure, and with this engine being completely race car application, we have no need for the squirters to help cool things down. So now we're going to go ahead and put some lube on our bearings. Can never have too much lube, boys. And then we also have the main bearings and the girdle as well. We're going to go ahead and hit those guys a little bit. Go ahead and grab our crankshaft. We'll set this guy in there like so. Just like that. And then we need to grab our thrust washers. Do not forget these guys. I've never done it, but I've heard people that have forgot them, and your crank will flop around in there and it will not be good. So you want to go ahead and center this guy. And go ahead and stick a little lube on the outside so it has these little grooves. Those face out towards the crankshaft. And then the completely smooth flat side faces the block. Then we'll just round those guys in there like that. Got number one. We got thrust washer number two. Just like that. Now we can go ahead and take our girdle and stick this guy over the crank. Get our trusty mallet, smack her down. Alright, we'll go ahead, lube up our main studs and drop those guys in. Then we'll go ahead and run these guys down. Not going to get them super tight, but just get them snug. I'm going to go ahead and lube up all this stuff as well, just for the washers and the nut. We did forget one step. We do have to put silicone on the girdle. Alright, so I almost forgot. We had to pop the girdle back off. We do actually also need to seal this guy up. So before we tightened anything down, I realized we got to put some gasket maker down. So we just got some Honda Bond. I'm just going to run this guy along the sides here, and then we'll get the girdle back on, get it all torqued down. Alright, now the girdle can go on. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and torque these to 50 with 2 steps. First step 25, and the second 50. Oh, went a little over on that one. Now we go to 50. Alright, the crank is torqued down. Everything's spinning nice and smooth, which is a great sign, because if it was locked up, that would not be good. But like I said, everything as far as the crank and block goes is all standard size stuff, so I'm not worried about any of that at all. Alright guys, we got the block flipped back over. We're going to go ahead and set our ring gaps. So we got brand new rings along with the pistons, and I went ahead and just labeled each piston and set of rings. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, just so we don't mix them up, because we want to gap these in the cylinder that they're in and keep them there. So we'll go ahead and start with number 1 here. This is the top ring, and we'll just pop that guy into the cylinder, take our piston and push it down just like so. And right now the ring gap's going to be tight because they are brand new, but we're going to go 19 thousandths on this top ring. So right now she is tight. And to open that guy up, we are going to be using an angle grinder. I do not recommend this for novice engine builders. I am a novice engine builder myself, but if you don't got experience with an angle grinder, this is a no-go. I would recommend a ring gap tool or just a hand file and take your time with it. I'm going to be very gentle with the angle grinder here, and we're just going to nick the end of the ring and just massage it down to where we need that ring gap to be. And then we'll go ahead and do the second ones, and then we'll be good to go. We don't gap the oil rings, those will just go right on. So we'll go ahead and do the first one here, and then we'll set up a time lapse. So I like to just get her going, and then I grind it down when the angle grinder is on the decel. So I just do that, just like that, several times until we get it where we need to be. And then you want to make sure you hold it nice and square on there. You don't want this to get crooked or anything like that. And that was just a quick little test rip. We're still going to have a ways to go here. There we go. Right on the money. So our top ring is set, and then after you're done, you just want to make sure we clean off any burrs. So we can just take a file, and this one doesn't have too many, but just to be sure, you just want to clean them off. So now we just have to do that 7 more times. We got the 3 other top rings and then 4 more secondary rings. Like I said, top ring I went to 19 thousandths. In the second ring, I'm going to go to about 21 thousandths. You could go a little looser. I want to try to not have too much blow by, but we also can't go too tight because we're going to make a lot of boost and we don't want these rings to swell up in there. But my numbers have always been about 19 and 21 on the top and bottom ring, and I talked to a couple buddies, and that's right where they're at as well. So we'll go ahead and get all those knocked out, and then we can move on to getting the rods connected to the pistons and start putting it all together. Alright, so the rings are gapped, and now we are ready to put the pistons onto the rods here. And these are nice because they use these little buttons that go on the side of the piston instead of like C-clips, and they're not a pressed-in wrist pin. So these make it really quick to assemble them. I do love when they use these, and a lot of the higher-end racing pistons, at least on this Honda stuff, use them, so they're nice. So all we got to do is take our rod, and we want the tabs on the bearing to go to the exhaust side, and then we got the smaller cutouts for the exhaust valves and the bigger cutouts for the intake valves. So we'll just go ahead and line those up just like so. Get a little lube on the wrist pin, and then we can just slide this guy on through. Just like that, and then we just add the sides, one on each side, and then these guys are just held in by the oil rings. So I'm going to go ahead and take the middle oil ring real quick just to hold it all together. That's the first ring I always put on, is this guy. Wrap it around like so, and that'll just kind of help hold it in place. Then we'll go ahead and take 2 of our oil rings, put those guys on. I'll reorientate them later to get the gaps where I want them to be, but just for right now, get it all together. And just like that, we got the 3 oil rings on there, and those will hold the side caps on there so they can't go anywhere. And then we'll grab some ring pliers when we get to putting on the top and bottom ring there. But we'll go ahead and get all of these connected to the pistons, and then get the rings on there. We can go ahead and pop them into the block. Alright, all of the pistons are connected to the rods. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the rings on, starting with the bottom ring. You got some ring pliers right here. You want to be real careful, especially with this bottom ring, because it's a little more brittle, and I have accidentally snapped these in the past, and it sucks because then you have to wait for new rings to show up. If you're careful, you can do it with your hands, but if you got some pliers, it's definitely a lot better. Makes it a lot easier. Just like that, got that guy on there for number 1. And then the top ring, I guess this one has a bevel, so we got to make sure that bevel is facing up. Normally you'll see like a dot or logo, and that usually faces up. This top ring doesn't have any sort of logo, but in the little instruction pamphlet that it had, it said that if it does have a bevel on the inner groove there, that it should face up, which it does. So I guess that guy needs to go up. Just like that. She is completed and ready to go into the block. We just gotta orientate those ring gaps where we want them. We'll get the rest done, and then we can start sticking them in to the engine block. Alright, we're ready to get our first rod and piston into cylinder number 1. I went ahead and orientated the ring gaps, so probably hard to see, but we got the first oil ring gap right here on the skirt, and then 180 from it is the other oil ring gap, and then back over to the same side we got the second ring gap right there, and then the top ring gap is going to go right about there. So we have the ring gaps about 180 from each other. You want the air to try to travel as far as possible to make its way through. You just don't want all those gaps in line. So that's the way we do it. It's pretty common. So just kind of go 180, and then we try not to have the gaps overhanging out here. We want it overhanging over the skirt. So got everything ready to go. We'll go ahead and get this guy into our ring compressor. And open that up first and get some oil in there. All right. Like that. Then we'll go ahead and do number 4, since the crank's already rotated down. Then we can flip it over, get those tightened, get the rod bearings in there, and then do 2 and 3. Got the rod bearings on there, and we got them lubed up. I'm just gonna push these guys up into place, just 1 and 4, just like that. Number 1, I already have the bearing on the cap here. We'll just get some lube on that guy. Line up the tabs on the bearings. That one's good to go there. Then you can see on these rod caps they have this centering dowel right here. It's only on one side. So 4 of the 8 bearings have a hole in them. These are pre-drilled bearings that I ordered. If not, you can order just regular ones and drill the hole out yourself. But this is specifically for aluminum rods only. You won't see this on any of the other stuff. Just keeps that bearing centered in there. Can't move around. So snap that guy into place. Get her lubed up. Alright, last one. Number 3. Usually the cylinder that has issues when motors let go, but we won't talk about that. Alright, we'll see if I can get this last one without a ring binding up. I've done all the other ones so far, no issues. Good way to make sure it goes in every time is make sure this is tapped down all the way and it's tight as it can be, and then make sure you're pushing down with your hand and holding it tight to the block so the ring can't sneak its way out in between them. Just like that. 4 for 4. Alright, time to torque these suckers down, a step that I've never forgotten to do in my life.
Lies.
We are going to 60 foot-pounds on these, which is a lot, but we're about to hold a lot of horsepowers. And we are good to go, boys. She's spinning over nice. Something else I didn't mention before is that this block did have to be notched for the aluminum rods. So if you look down by the skirt of the piston, it's kind of hard to see, but they actually had to notch at the bottom of the cylinders down there so that the rod doesn't hit the block, because they are much wider than a factory rod. And we were worried that we might have had to grind the girdle, but it looks like we are good to go. You can see how close those rod bolts come. Look at that. Right up in there. But everything clears. Nothing is coming too close for comfort. Got those big dog rods in there, boys. So everything spins free. Everything feels great. And our bottom end is just about ready to go. So we'll just have to get the oil pump on there. We're waiting on the head to come in, and we'll get the head slapped on, get this thing fully assembled out, and we'll have our engine ready to go for the MR2 here. See if we got some suction on this cylinder here. Oh yeah. My hands aren't wide enough. Oh, there we go. She's ready to rip, boys. Well, guys, there you have it. We got the bottom end assembled for the MR2 here. This is our new K24 that we're going to be trying out in the car to see if the extra displacement and extra torque ends up helping us out. If we do manage to run a 7 on this thing, which I believe should be no problem, it'll be the first 7 that we have ran on an engine that I have built completely on my own, which would be pretty cool. But once I moved to Florida, JBR was the first people that I've ever had build engines for us. Up until that point, I have personally built all the engines in every one of our vehicles except the NSX, because that came pre-assembled. But every other engine put together ourselves over here, so I'm very confident, and we will see what this sucker can do. I think I'm just going to leave this video pretty raw and leave a lot of stuff in it that I would otherwise probably cut out, and I guess you guys can let me know how you like it. Really appreciate you guys watching, even though this might be
one of the more laid back, casual videos with nothing too crazy going on, just assembling a engine here and getting our CNC plasma up and running. So huge shout out to Langmuir once again. We've been using that thing the last couple days and it is awesome. But yeah, I'm sure this won't be the last time we do some engine assembling on the channel. It definitely won't be the last time. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching, and we will get the MR2 up and running here very soon.